All right, looks like we are live. Okay, today we're looking at 35218. I was just browsing and I think I saw this new property right up here. Yeah, this property just got listed 2 days ago. So let's go take a look at this property. 1701 Avenue I, 125 grand, 35218. This property looks like they just renovated. I wish they took brighter photos, to be honest. Why? I feel like they could have just spent a little bit more time making it look a little bit nicer. So, I mean, cosmetically, it looks fine. Immediate rental income, nearly complete status. They probably try to pre-list it. Okay, I get it. Okay, so this is a 4-bed, 2-bath, 1,509 square feet. Let's go ahead and plug some of these numbers in. All right, 125 grand is what's listed at. For rehab, I'm going to assume that cosmetically everything is fine, so I don't need to repaint the place. I might replace the toilets with a high pressure flush toilet still. So that's usually right here in row 132, where I put 2 high pressure flush toilets because I have them at my properties and we never gotten a clogged toilet call yet. So I'm trying to stay ahead of them and never have to spend my time or energy answering a clogged toilet call. Especially if you send someone out there, I mean, it's going to cost you like $200 already. So I'd rather get ahead of it. Row 46 is a landscaping expense just to kind of keep the front yard tidy so that I don't get any code violations while we get it rented out. And I got $1,500 for the roof. So that gives me a total rehab number of roughly around $3,500. So relative turnkey. Now, next thing I need to do is get my rents. In 35218, this property is in Jefferson County. So you can just figure that out just by looking up the word county on the Redfin listing. And that's how you can see that, boom, Jefferson County. Then you're going to look for the rent ceiling. So the first thing you want to do is you want to look up the HUD FMR, the fair market rents. When you go here, you click on the first link, you click on access to small area FMRs. You look up the FY 2025 FMRs, go to Alabama, go to Jefferson County. And now you're going to get by bedroom count, by zip code, what your maximum or your rent ceiling is. And in 35218, your rent ceiling is 1580. So it's 1580. Okay. And then your 3-bed is 1420. 14. Oh, that's same as 35214. Good to know. Good to know there's some consistency here. Different zip code, but same rent ceilings. Now, the next thing I need to do is look up my market rent. To do and get my market rent, I have to go to affordablehousing.com. I have to go to the owner section, go to the market rent estimator, plug in the address, put in a bedroom count, click on get estimate, and now you're going to see that within a 1.74 mile radius, the average rent is $1,375. 1,375, and then 1,308. Just writing down these numbers because my partners already know how I analyze these deals, so this is the fastest way to go about it. 1,384. So 1,375 compared to 1,580. 1,375 is obviously the lower number. So that's why I have to use 1,375 for my rental rate assumptions. And that's really because of, well, of the rent reasonableness test. And I'm pulling up here right now. This is the Housing Choice Voucher Program Guidebook. And Housing Choice Voucher is what was previously known as the Section 8 program. When you go to Section 2.2, there is a test called the rent reasonableness. And it says that in conducting rent reasonableness, the PHA or the Public Housing Authority must determine whether the rent to the owner is a reasonable rent in comparison to rent for other comparable unassisted units. So this means you can't charge more rent to someone simply because they're a voucher holder. So you can't go ahead and go charge 1,580, and you wouldn't get 1,580 anyways, because the 1,580 typically includes utilities, and you're going to have to back out the utilities from that payment standard or the FMR. So that's not going to be the total rent you're going to get anyways. So that's why 1,375 is the more reasonable rent, and that's the number you have to use for your rental assumptions. So I got my asking price. I got my renovations. I got my rent. The next thing I need to do is put in my property taxes. I'm going to get the property taxes right from the Redfin site, and that's going to be right here. This is $42. It seems a little low, to be honest with you. Equals 42. I'm not multiply 1.2 because I'm pretty sure it's more than that, but I want to be a little conservative. My insurance is 97, so I'm going to equals 97 times 1.2 because that estimate of $97 is typically for a property where someone is buying as a primary residence. So if I'm buying as an investment property, I'm assuming that the investment property is going to be viewed as a riskier asset or a riskier product that the insurance company is writing. So they're going to be 97 times 1.2. Okay. And then, so you got 10% for the maintenance, and then you got 10% for property management. You got 5% for vacancy, and that equals 586.67. But don't get too excited. We haven't put in the interest yet. All right. So we're going to come down to the down payment percentage. And in F19, I'm going to put 25%. And my down payment amount is going to equal to my listing price in B4, right? B4 times F19. And that's going to give you $31,250. All right. I got 2.5% for closing costs, $3,500 for renovations. Now I need to go find out how much I'm financing. So in my financing amount in K6 is going to equals to my asking price in B4 minus my down payment amount in E19. And so I will be financing $93,750. If I use, let's say, 8% on this deal, right? 8% interest rate, just being conservative. Could they be going down? Yeah, but let's be a little conservative. 8% here. Then I would be essentially cash flowing $177 a month if I rent this property out at $1,375, and that would be a 5.6% return on my capital, assuming I bought this property for $125,000, with a $3,500 rehab and a 25% down payment and 8% interest rate. Okay, all right. So let's change it up, right? Because for me, again, this is not investment advice. We're not soliciting any investments on this call. Simply showing you how to work every single day that I do to play around with numbers and adjust the levers up and down. When I adjust this asking price, watch what happens to this cash and cash return. When I go from $125,000 to $100,000, look, it just went up to a 12.17% return. So if my criteria is, let's say, 10%, I will be willing to pay $107,000 because that results in a 10.1% return, 10.1. And again, this is assuming everything else stay constant. But in this scenario, I'd be cash flowing $276 a month using everything else is the same. But I'll be buying it for $107,000 instead of $125,000. Let's do one more scenario, right? If, let's say, interest rates continue going down and this property is still on the market in 60 days, right? Let's go to 7%. Well, now all of a sudden you might be willing to pay $115. Okay, you might still be willing to pay $115,000 if you can get an interest rate at 7%. So this willingness to pay, quote unquote, assuming everything else stay constant with the rehab and the rent $1,375, allows you to cash flow $291 a month, and that's a 9.9% return. So see what happened there? When interest rates drop by 1 whole point, your willingness to pay went up by a full $8,000. That is math. That's all it is. You're staying objective, right? So now as situations change because of the macro environment, you can figure out what you need to do to adjust up or downwards your willingness to pay, or just use the data that's available to you and adjust those levers up and down so you understand what set of price or set of terms and a price will make something a deal, quote unquote, a deal for your own investment purposes. Because let's do one more scenario, right? And this is where people freak out. We say, well, what if the rehab goes so much longer and my contractor runs off the money, or they do an inspection and they find out something is leaking in the roof, and now the whole roof needs to get replaced. And now my rehab 5x, right? So it went from $3,500 to $17,400. Well, in that scenario, when I multiply my rehab by 5, my cash and cash return went down from 10% to 7% almost. So it dropped by 3 whole points. So how do I get back to a 10%? Well, I have to lower my asking price, right? So assuming you had an inspection contingency, now all of a sudden you might be at $99,000. So you can go to the seller and say, hey, my contractor found X and X issue. I'm no longer able to give you $115,000, even though the interest rates have dropped down by a whole point, because my rehab just went to $17,400. However, if you're willing to give me a $16,000 credit, or lower the asking price to $99,000, I would still go through with this deal because that's still a 10% cash and cash return. Now, is 10% cash and cash return the magic number? No, not even close. I mean, that's why it depends on your own investment strategy, your own risk tolerance. And that's why you got to talk to your own investment professionals. Like, what is your true objective here? Okay. Now, when you do that, well, what's going to happen? Well, you got to figure out, why on earth would you want to do that? Why do you want to still do this deal? Some people might say, I just want to break even on my cash flow because I'm buying in a area where $1 million homes are going up by 5% every single year. I mean, that's on $1 million home. That's like 50 grand. That beats $300 a month any single day, if that is your goal, right? It's very speculative. You're speculating on the appreciation of the property, which is very, very risky. But to each their own, right? Some people have been very successful with that strategy. Some people have been very unlucky with that strategy. So this is the step. These are the steps that you want to have to take so that you can decide, how do I adjust up and downwards to different factors in the Excel model to come up with a set of terms and price that makes the deal for myself. And this only happens with practice. So if you guys want a copy of the spreadsheet, just go to affordablehousing.io, not .com, affordablehousing.io. Put in your name, email, phone number. That's the fastest way to get a copy of the spreadsheet. I didn't make the spreadsheet from scratch. This is a few spreadsheets that I got from a few other folks. I combined them all together. I tweaked it so that I can analyze these deals fastest for long-term rentals. And that's how I do it. So I hope you all have an amazing Friday. I hope you guys spend some quality time with your family and friends today, because that's what life is all about. All right. I hope you all have an amazing weekend. I'll be back here again tomorrow for day 343. Almost at a full year, guys. Thanks for doing this with me. I hope you guys keep this up, build this habit with me, and copy my homework. Put it on your own YouTube channel, because that's how we build up the practice and we build up the confidence to do it on ourselves. Have an amazing day, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow.